Hello and welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be about art and spirituality, about the similarities between art and spirituality. And it's not going to be for everyone, obviously, because I will be drawing from spiritual texts, religious texts, and I will be drawing from the Christian text and the Christian faith to buttress my points about how art and spirituality are alike. And obviously, if you're not spiritual or religious, you might not find this helpful at all. So without further ado, I'm just going to get started on the video. So I'm going to be reading from my notes app because I wrote down some things, some of my thoughts on the matter. And so I will start by saying that even if you're neither religious nor spiritual, it's important to be aware of the ways in which art and faith are alike. Especially if you're an artist, it's very important to be aware of the ways that they are alike. And if you're spiritually minded or religious as well as an artist, then being aware of the spirituality of art can help you in becoming. The religious text I will be using, as I've said before, is the Bible, and I'm just going to go ahead to state how art is like faith. If you do not come from money, following the path of an artist is often seen as foolish, as a phase, as illogical, especially if you take a step away from a regular job to focus on your craft. And when I speak of craft and art, I speak broadly, anything from making YouTube videos to writing books to, music. I speak broadly when I talk about art. The truth is that in the modern world, it is not a logical path to follow. It's not a logical, as much as we would love to laud the benefits of art, of the artists. It is not a logical path to follow in the modern world. It's nothing as logical. It's not stable. It's not reliable. Excuse me. So it's not a logical path. It often requires taking actions without having any certainty about the end. Unlike a regular job, if you go for a job interview and get hired, at the end of the month you get the pay, you get a paycheck, right? That is stability. That is certainty. But art is not certainty. Art does not offer certainty, not in this current world, and that is where it has a very crucial similarity with faith. And if you know about the story of Abraham and how he became Abraham, you know that in Genesis, I think Genesis 12, God called him from his land, from his family, from his religion, from the safety of his community, and asked him to, go, leave your father's land. I can just imagine the reactions of other family members, the people he was leaving behind. And he was like, you know what, I just want to go, I've been called out. God has called me out. And they're like, called you to where though? Called you to what? Right? And he's like, I don't know, but I just have to go. I just have this sharp conviction that I should move from this place. You can imagine the reaction, the thoughts of those he's leaving behind. You can imagine how they would have thought. His friends, he probably and most likely had friends that he left behind. So you can imagine how they reacted. And this is someone that eventually becomes known as the father of faith, right? This is someone that eventually becomes the patriarch, the foundational person for Judaism as well as Christianity, right? He's a building block for what eventually became Judaism as well as Christianity. So all because he took the step. He took the step that did not make sense, that would not have made sense to a lot of people. So that is where art and faith intersects. Okay, it often requires taking actions without having any certainty about the end. Okay, if you know the story of Abraham, you know he was called out of what was likely a thriving community, the safety of a community and its gods, and called to venture out to the uncertainty of a new path. of your new calling. If you stray out of the carved out path for you, you are taking a step of faith. And many times the arts as a whole is an alternative path. It's often regarded as an alternative path. You will not be able to tell what lies at the end of that path except you take it. And all you have most times to go on is a strong conviction, right? Which brings me to my second point. You will have people dissuade you for what they presume is your own good. You will have people dissuade you from what they presume is your own good. Think of your path as venturing out of the safety of a community, right? You say, oh, I do not want to do this thing I studied in school. I do not want to do this for the rest of my life. I want to follow a creative path. Yeah, it doesn't make sense to a lot of people. And you cannot blame them. You cannot blame them for trying to dissuade you. So think of your path as venturing out of the safety of a community. These people who ask you to stay in the community, and by community I mean certainty, I mean carved out paths, a regular job. They mean well, they do. You must not villainize them if they've not done anything particularly bad to you. Think of Peter taking Jesus aside after Jesus had spoken of his impending death to rebuke him. In Matthew 16:22 reads, Peter took him aside and began to rebuke him. Never, Lord, he said, this shall never happen to you. And Jesus countered by saying, get behind me, Satan. If you look up the etymology of the word Satan, it means accuser or adversary, right? You'd find that it doesn't always apply. Initially, when the etymology of the word, it didn't always apply to a supernatural entity, but rather someone who opposes you, an opposer, an opponent, right? An adversary. So it didn't always apply to a supernatural entity. So in that way, Peter acted as Satan to Jesus's calling. Peter didn't mean Jesus harm by wanting him to live and not die. Peter didn't mean Jesus harm by saying what he did, But Jesus had seen a broader picture in mind. He had seen the bigger picture. I cannot remember the exact verse, and I cannot quote it exactly, but it says that something about Jesus for the glory he saw ahead, he endured the pain, the shame. Because of he had the bigger picture, he was able to endure the pain and the suffering. So Jesus had a broader picture in mind. Jesus had the bigger picture. In the same vein, no one else can see the bigger picture but you. No one else can feel the conviction in the pit of your stomach. No one else has access to the conviction you have. No one else does. No one else has experiential access to the certainty, I will use certainty in quotes, to the conviction that you have about your part. No one else does. So you cannot expect anyone else to believe in you more than you do in yourself, except your mother. And if you're lucky to have a good mother that believes in you more than you believe in yourself, or even friends, then you're one of the lucky ones. But it's not the norm, and you cannot always expect that, right? So you must advocate for yourself. You must advocate for your conviction silently, through action. You must advocate for your conviction. What you know is your calling. You must advocate for it. So another way in which faith and art are alike is that it offers comfort. Your work, if done honestly, would bring comfort and strength to others. Just like people take comfort in faith and are strengthened by the faith of others, so will your art. So will your art offer comfort and strength to people. And finally, it will trouble others. Faith can also trouble others, because in many ways, and to a rational and logical mind, it can appear foolish. People do not understand it. What do you mean? So people do not understand it. So what do you mean making your small videos can have a large impact? What do you mean writing your books can change lives? What do you mean by the fact that some random carpenter's son will become the savior of the world and would have a name that endures forever? What do you mean? right? That is what people thought when Jesus's ministry was starting. Like, this man, who is this not Joseph's son? That is the same way if you're an artist, that people will approach your art. They will approach your calling in the same way, and they do not mean, not all of them. There are some who would mean you harm because they can actually see where you're going and they want to dissuade you from getting there. But others are acting out of ignorance, out of their limited understanding, because they do not have experiential access to your God's conviction. They do not have that. So for those who are strictly logical, and for those who are pedantic in their view of the world, art as well as faith can seem foolish. Following the artist's path can seem foolish. But you must not fault them entirely for their views. All you must do is ensure that their skepticism doesn't overtake your conviction. So that's all I've written for this particular thought and for this particular idea. And I hope that it has been helpful. I hope that you have been able to take something from it. I hope that if you have a conviction about this, that you are strengthened even more to stick to your path. Of course, this does not mean being foolish. Taking faith is not necessarily foolish. Faith might appear foolish, but it's not necessarily foolish. I would love to explore this more, and talk about how faith requires a substance, something to hold on to, right? For the long road ahead. I would love to talk about that in a future video. So if you've loved this video, please like and comment on what moved you more, or if you have an additional points to add that might strengthen people, that might encourage the artists, those who have been called to the artist life, the artist part. Please drop a comment, subscribe, share with your artist friends, and thank you for watching. See you in the next video. Bye.